The financial secretary says lowering the stamp duty on stock transactions alone won't be enough to fundamentally reinvigorate the capital market. Hong Kong may issue the standby signal number 1 tomorrow as severe Typhoon Haiyan sweeps across southeastern Taiwan. And Pope Francis attends an inter-religious meeting in Mongolia. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The government is studying ways to strengthen the liquidity of the city's stock market, while some suggested lowering the stamp duty on stock trading to boost transactions. Financial Secretary Paul Chan said that won't be able to fundamentally reinvigorate the capital market over the long term. Earlier, the government set up a task force looking set to enhance Hong Kong's stock market liquidity. In his latest blog post, Financial Secretary Paul Chan said the task force will convene its first meeting this week. That's after the mainland's decision to halve the stamp duty on stock trading to 0.05%. Hong Kong's stock transaction is subject to a stamp duty of 0.13%. While some said Hong Kong should lower the duty rate in lockstep with the mainland, the finance chief said the move won't be able to provide a long-term and structural boost to stock trading. Citing statistics, Paul Chan said the stamp duty has been lowered 3 times between 1999 and 2001. So the average daily turnover for Hong Kong stocks dwindled from $14.3 billion in 1997 to $6 billion in 2002. In 2021, following a small hike in duty rates, the daily trading turnover in the first 4 months even increased 2% compared with the year before, Paul Chan said. He said the key to improving the market is positive investor sentiment. That would relate to the capital inflow volume to the market and hinge on the performances of the economy and companies, not just on the stamp duty adjustment. Piecemeal measures in hopes of stimulating the market would only be counterproductive while diminishing investor confidence, Chan said. The city's finance chief added misunderstanding arisen from political bias from the West, also disrupted faith towards Hong Kong and mainland stock markets. With that in mind, Chan said the SR government will invite more guests and venture abroad, including Europe and the US, to proactively explain the potential and opportunities of Hong Kong over the next few months. The observatory says the standby signal number 1 may be issued on tomorrow morning as severe Typhoon Haiyan has entered within 800 kilometers of the city. The forecast track shows Haiyan will enter the Taiwan Strait tomorrow after barreling into southeastern Taiwan today, and then move towards the coast between eastern Guangdong and southern Fujian on the mainland. However, there is still uncertainty over the trajectory of Haiyan. The observatory said the weather will be hot in Hong Kong on Monday, followed by showers in the following few days. Italy's foreign minister says trade between his country and China has not improved since Rome joined the Belt and Road Initiative 4 years ago. This a day before Antonio Tajani visits Beijing. The Silk Road did not bring the results we expected, Tajani said. In 2019, under a different government, Italy became the first major Western nation to join China's infrastructure project. Tajani now thinks the government may not renew Italy's participation. Italy has until December to decide. His current agreement with China runs until March. Under the agreement, the two parties can end the deal after 5 years. The partnership gets extended for another 5-year term. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni says she is planning to visit China in one of her next trips abroad. 2 Chinese citizens and 2 other people have been killed in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The victims were part of a 4-vehicle convoy carrying gold when they were ambushed in the largely lawless eastern part of the country. An official in the Fizi region said the attackers stole parcels of gold and fled into the bush. The convoy belonged to TSM Mining and was carrying gold from a site near the Kimbe River. China is a major investor in the country and dominates the lucrative mineral mining industry. The 2 others killed were a soldier and driver. A Chinese mine worker and 4 others were wounded. The region has experienced a number of attacks by armed groups amid tension between locals and Chinese mining firms. Pope Francis was speaking at an inter-religious meeting in the Mongolian capital Ulaanbaatar today, sharing a theater stage with a dozen other religious representatives. Calling himself one of the humble heirs of ancient schools of wisdom and quoting the Buddha, Pope Francis today urged all religions to live in harmony. He was due to say Mass for Mongolia's 1,450 Catholics on Sunday. Nazvi Karim has more.
A statue of the Virgin Mary rescued from a Mongolian garbage dump 10 years ago. Pope Francis trying to rescue the influence of Catholicism in the region with remarks aimed more at neighboring China than the faithful who came to see the pontiff at Ulaanbaatar. Jesus gave no political mandate to his apostles, Francis said, adding, "For this reason, governments and secular institutions have nothing to fear from the Church." The Pope, who on Saturday met Mongolian President Oknagin Khurelsukh, is the leader of 1.3 billion Catholics. At the Saints Peter and Paul Cathedral, he ministered to just 1,450, which represents a total Catholic population of an overwhelmingly Buddhist country that follows the Dalai Lama. Among the pilgrims who travelled to Ulaanbaatar were Catholics from China, including Hong Kong SAR. Beijing tries to exercise control over religions on the mainland, in which obedience to the Communist Party is encouraged. On Sunday, the Pope took part in an interreligious meeting at a theatre with a dozen other representatives of different faiths. Francis has been criticized for taking part in such gatherings, with the conservative bishop of Kazakhstan once calling such meetings a supermarket of religions that dilutes the status of the Catholic Church. The Pope, however, has condemned the narrowness of such views and insists on the importance of ecumenical, interreligious and cultural dialogue without glossing over differences. An advocate of the Pope's stance is Hong Kong's top Catholic cleric, Bishop Stephen Chow, who hopes the church in Hong Kong could be a bridge church with the mainland.
And that's the most important message for our world today, that religion helps us to love and not to separate, not to divide the world. I think that would be a mistake. It's how to come to appreciate each other, the commonality.
Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Still ahead, Mohammed AlFayed, the former owner of Harrods, dies. A new lease of life, a story about a dog rescued from the brink of death during a smuggling attempt. Welcome back. Mohammed AlFayed's family confirmed the former owner of Harrods died of old age at 94. The Egyptian-born businessman was the father of Dodi AlFayed, who died with Princess Diana in a car crash in Paris in 1997. David Garrett looks back at his life.
Mohammed AlFayed, friend to music greats and movie stars. Born in Alexandria in 1929 when Egypt was under British rule, the Egyptian tycoon began selling fizzy drinks and worked as a sewing machine salesman. He became a resident in the UK in 1974 and famous 11 years later when he bought Harrods, a London landmark and one of the most famous shops in the world. He had acquired the House of Fraser Group, which enabled him to buy Harrods. He's seen here with actress Sophia Loren at the opening of a sale at the iconic store in 1999. He had a flair for the flamboyant. 2 years earlier was his saddest day. A memorial was placed outside of Harrods in 1997 to honour his son Dodi, who died at the age of 41 in a car crash with Princess Diana in France. Mohammed AlFayed was seen weeping at the funerals. Dodi had a relationship with Diana after she had divorced Prince Charles. Diana had distanced herself from the royal family, but was the mother of William, heir to the throne. The CCTV images of the couple leaving the Ritz in Paris, which AlFayed owned, were broadcast around the world. They were the last pictures of them alive. Their black Mercedes, pursued by paparazzi, crashed in a tunnel. Dodi and Diana died, as did driver Henri Paul, who was an AlFayed family employee. Paul had been drinking alcohol before driving. A grief-stricken Mohammed AlFayed spent 10 years and millions of pounds trying to prove Diana and Dodi were murdered. He claimed Diana was carrying Dodi's child, but an inquest found no evidence to support his conspiracy theories. That and a scandal where AlFayed admitted he had paid politicians to ask questions on his behalf in Parliament tarnished his reputation. Although he was popular here at Craven Cottage, the home of Fulham Football Club, which AlFayed bought in the late 1990s. He helped turn the team's fortunes around and got them back into the top division, the Premier League. He sold the London club to US businessman Shahid Khan in 2013. By then, in his 80s, he'd already sold Harrods to Qatar Holdings for £1.5 billion, 3 times the amount he'd spent in 1985. David Garrett, TVB News.
Back locally, the city's Customs and Excise Department has welcomed a new canine member on board. The new recruit was extricated from the brink of death from a smuggling attempt before being trained as a drug sniffer dog. We followed the 4-legged customs officer on its first day of work. A furry customs officer reporting for duty at the airport for the first time, looking to sniff out any illicit drugs or substances. AlFayed here has just completed his 10-week narcotics detection training. The 1.5-year-old golden retriever works 4 hours a day and is now among some 70 dogs at the Customs Canine Force, assigned different specialties to detect tobacco, firearms, explosives, and cash. Unlike other detector dogs chosen and bred with optimal operational capability, AlFayed can only see up to 3 meters away due to congenital cataracts.
Because of his eye problem, he's more rely on his sense of smell. And then he can smell all the drugs efficiently. He is one of our most outstanding work.
Customs officers told us AlFayed here is a great drug detection dog because of his mild temperament, obedience, and intelligence. In that way, he won't scare off travelers and returning Hong Kongers at the airport. In May last year, AlFayed was among some 160 animals smuggled to Hong Kong via a speedboat from the mainland. All young and of pedigree breeds, these cats, dogs, and rabbits were crammed into 17 small cages when the vessel was intercepted by the police. Apart from AlFayed, his sister Amber and another Labrador Caesar have been adopted by the Customs Department.
Our first encounter with these 3 puppies, they were quite timid and quite anxious about the surroundings. It's totally understandable because they had been badly treated by the smugglers for a long time.
While the trio survived the ordeal, some 60 other trafficked pets aboard the vessel were not spared from a tragic fate and died within 2 months after being rescued.
Most of them had contracted different kinds of disease and even passed away when they were being smuggled.
Noting the increase in the cross-border illicit pet trade, authorities said the most important thing the public can do to stop the illegal breeding and smuggling is to stop the buying. 19 people have been arrested over an alleged swindling case worth $4 million. The scams involved at least 25 victims who were conned into buying non-existent gold and cryptocurrency investment plans. 12 men and 7 women aged between 25 and 42 were apprehended on Wednesday and Thursday on suspicion of conspiracy to defraud and money laundering. Some may have triad backgrounds. They are allegedly members of a group that set up a company touted to offer investment plans and having low risks and high returns. The company began operations in the middle of last year. They also used more than 50 shell companies and stooge accounts, and through these accounts, they are suspected to have laundered more than $300 million. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.